What is up, everybody? My name is Tattoo, and this is my podcast. So, I was sitting there the other day and I was scrolling through eBay looking for vintage toys that I never owned when I was a kid and I still want today. By the way, I'm 37 years old, and yes, there are toys that I didn't get in my childhood that I wish I could still get. And I'm going to explain to you which one those are. Ones. Um, so now, what I'm going to show you is just, trust me, there's tons of toys I'm not going to be able to show here because it would just take too damn long. So I'm just going to show you some toys that I liked and some that I wish I had, and some that I actually got to play with because either my cousins or friends had, but I never did. So I'm just going to show you that some toys that I wish I had played with or wish I had. So I'm going to just start off with these little things, the Mad Balls. Who remembers these things? If I'm not mistaken, I had that mummy one and the baseball one. But I know y'all know about these if you're from the 80's. Mad Balls. And, man, I wish I would have kept all the toys that I had, which wasn't a lot. But, you know, just to have. I wish I would have got it, played with it one time, put it in a box, wrapped it up in plastic. Because a lot of these toys from back in the days some are worth a pretty good penny. So we got that. Y'all recognize this little bad boy? That's right, the Easy Bake Oven. I think it cooked with the light bulb. I never had one. Like I said, I would have loved one, even though I'm not a girl. But I thought it was pretty cool. Because back then, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have phones. We didn't have computers. We didn't have nothing. So toys was the shit. The thing that kept us occupied besides destroying anthills and looking for stuff and making mud pies. The Easy Bake Oven. Now, this is a toy that I always wanted and never got to play with it. And the reason is because I didn't come from a wealthy family. You know, it was food versus toys, so I'd rather have food. And I didn't come from, I come from a broken home anyway, so at 5 years old. So I wasn't getting all the toys that I wanted, which I wish I did, but hey, that's life. But laser tag is one of those toys I wish I had. So, still cool. I still wouldn't mind having one. Putting it up, hanging it up on the wall, framing it, something. It's pretty cool. Nostalgia. And Hot Wheels. Every kid had Hot Wheels, and they were made with lead in the paint and real metal. And they got destroyed, But it's very rare to find a Hot Wheel in good condition. And some of them are worth thousands and thousands of dollars, believe it or not. The Sit and Spin. I played on one. I think it was at school we had one in kindergarten. I never owned one. But that was a way to trick kids into exercising while having fun. The Sit and Spin. A Snoopy snow cone machine. Never had one. My wife said she had like two or three. I would only see them in the stores. Never got to taste one. I'm sure they're delicious on a hot day. But the Snoopy snow cone machine was one of the things that I wish I had as a kid. Spinjas. Spinjas was so cool back then. And I remember, like I said, my parents divorced, and I didn't get any more Christmas. And that year I got, the grandmas, they gave me a pair of socks, thing of socks and underwear. And all my male cousins, which was a lot, they each got one of these with all the little spinja things. And me and my brother had to watch them open up toys and stuff. And they got these, and that's the only time I got to play with them. Never owned one. I still want one, because at the time I was like, man, that is so freaking cool. And so I actually played with one of these, but for my cousins, but I never owned one. But I would still like one of those. Those are really, really cool. Like if they came back with the spinjas right now, that shit would sell like hotcakes. So they need to come out with that shit again. And I know everybody knows these, the tops. There was a art to this. You couldn't just spin it. You had to know how to fling that thing. You had to whip that sucker so fast, and it would hit and just stay straight up. Uh, Let me tell you something. You cannot just make one of those spin. You have to wrap the string around very good and give it one hell of a fucking sling. But you can't just sling it. You have to. I just can't show you right here. But those were fun. I want one of those. I used to have some of those, but they didn't look that pretty. They were all scratched up, beat up. But that was actually a cool freaking toy. See, these are the toys that kids these days will never know, understand, touch, and play with, because now these days it's technology. So that was a cool toy. I need to go get me one of those. I'm sure I can find one on the internet. This little bad boy, the Tommy Turbo, which there wasn't much to it. The graphics were shit, but back in the days, this was breakthrough technology, and it kept kids busy and having fun. The Tommy Turbo. Now, when I used to have hair, I looked like this little monkey doll right here, the Monchichi. I remember playing. My cousin had one of these, and there's not much to this stupid doll besides putting the thumb in the mouth, But back then, it kept kids, occupied. And these were the things that, growing up with no technology, we appreciated. Simple things. But kids ain't simple anymore. The Ouija board. Now, I'm gonna say that this thing really works. Me and my cousins used to play this. My cousin, I believe Julie Ortiz, got possessed by one of these. We would see shadows. One time we seen a shadow of someone hanging outside of where I grew up in Andrews, of somebody just literally a shadow hanged outside the window. One time, one that uh, moving thing flew into one of my cousin's mouth. There's a lot of things. Like this thing really works. It's like that game light as a feather, stiff as a board. You can really pick a human being up with just two fingers. I've seen it. I've done it. So that is another thing that I want in my collection is a Ouija board. I actually want a tattoo of that thing. It's pretty cool. Brings back a lot of memories, and it it works. Go buy one. If you don't believe me, try it. All right, now this I've always wanted one of these. They're so freaking cool. I never got to Stretch Armstrong. I want one. They're expensive though. Like seriously, I was on eBay. They're like $30+. That's really not expensive, but think about it. It's a toy from the 80's. That's pretty damn expensive. Because in the 80's, it's probably like $2-3. You know, the Stretch Armstrong. So let's bring back some commercials. Commercials back then. So corny. Oh my god. I know whoever's watching this, if you grew up back in the days watching a tube TV that weighed 500 pounds and looked like a dresser, I'm sure this is bringing back memories right here. That is the Stretch Armstrong commercial. Commercials back then were so stupid, but they worked because back in the days we only had like what 4 or 5 channels, rabbit ears. You know, there wasn't all this high tech dish network, and you know when satellites came out, they're as big as your house, the big black ones and stuff. You know, but back then you were forced to watch whatever was on TV. You know, MacGyver, Mama's Family. Um, you know, stuff like that. The Trolls. I owned one of those. Actually, I own a couple of those. I wish I would have kept them. I don't think they. I don't think they sell those anymore. I haven't looked those up. I don't know. Those are pretty cool. Simple. Colored hair. You hold it. What do you do with it? Kids had imagination back then. We had an imagination back in the days. Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. I wish I had those. I'm a huge wrestling fan. Those are actually pretty cool. Something, if you would have got one of those and never opened the package in mint condition, I'm sure it'd be worth a lot of money. Wrestling figures. Now, who has mastered this game? It looks simple. 2 buttons, water, rings. It's not simple. This thing is not simple. It would take a long time to put all those rings on those poles in there. This was a cool game. I don't care. I used to love playing this. The Creepy Crawlers. Never owned it. Too expensive for my blood. How many of y'all own this thing? If y'all own any of these or still own any of these toys I'm showing, please comment down below. And if you want to get rid of anything, I will gladly give you my address and you can send me one of these vintage toys. Any of them. Any of them that I'm showing you, I don't care. The Transformers. These were so cool because you didn't just get one toy, you got two in one. And two is always better than one. So when the Transformers came out, it wasn't just a car. No, it was a damn Transformer. This toy is another toy that I never got, and I wish I had, because, like I said, I grew up in a broken home, and I was alone. I felt I needed a friend. You know, when you're outside just looking for bugs and stuff, you're all by yourself. And this is why I wanted one of these, of my buddy. To many people that would think it's just a doll, but it's not just a doll. It would have been my friend. It would have kept me company. I would have talked to it, and it would have been my buddy. I still want one of those to this day. I remember watching these commercials, going, damn, look at that lucky kid. Got a dog, a wagon, a fucking swing, a big wheel, a matching My Buddy clothes, a clubhouse, friends, a couch. Luckiest kid in the world. My buddy from play school. I've never got one of those. Still want one. This is another toy I wish I had and never got. Who remembers these? The pogo ball. These days, they probably wouldn't even sell them because kids are too fragile these days. They get hurt. Parents sue. You know, I'm surprised they even sell skateboards in this day and age. But the pogo ball looked like a little UFO. And you can tell how long ago this was because the way those kids are dressed. Scrunchy socks. Oh my God. Retards. The Pokeball. Oh my God. Now this was one toy I did get to play with because it was cheap as dirt. So I love these things. Like, I was fascinated with these things back. It was like so cool. You'd stick the little ball like it shows right there and blow it up. And actually, I would like to play with one of those. I need to go find one of those. I wonder if they still sell those. Those were cool. They smelled like chemicals. But that was actually a pretty cool toy back then. I'm surprised. Well, back then, kids weren't as stupid as the kids today. I mean, I'm just saying it. We had more common sense. Kids these days will never have street smarts because they don't grow up in the street no more. They don't have to come home when the street lights are on. That's when we had to be home. All right, I'm going to a friend's house. All right. When those street lights turn on, you got to come home because it's nighttime. Kids these days will never know. Oh, I always wanted one of these. I always wanted one of these, a roller racer. My cousin had one. I used to play on it. I myself never owned one. Like I said, come from a poor family, you don't get none of this shit. But I actually still would like one of these just to hang up on the wall. Pretty cool. Seeing all this stuff just brings back so many memories, you know. You just have like flashback. Pew! This is another toy I absolutely wanted. Like, every time I'd see the fucking commercials, like, fuck, man, I just want that thing. Because I love video games, you know? It's like, oh, just let me have that. How am I going to get it? I can't. I'm fucking poor. The Power Glove. When that shit came out and I seen the commercial, I was like, holy crap. A Power Glove. Like, this was space age technology. Like, we're talking about the 80's. Like, this is breakthrough shit. The Nintendo was, the Atari. I mean, let's just let you have a flashback with me. That was the coolest guy back then.
The Power Glove for your NES. Now you in the game.
Look at that. Programmer, look how he moved. Golly. I have never seen one of those in real life. Ever. I want one. I just want to put it up in a glass case and just look at it. It's amazing. You're talking about from the 80's. It's 2020 now. I'm 37 years old and I've never seen one of those in real life. I want one. A Power Glove. Alright, let's go to the next thing. I have played with one of these. I've never mastered one of these. These things are hard as shit. And no, Justin Bieber, I don't need your input on this fucking Rubik's Cube, okay? You can just not comment. Thank you. The Rubik's Cube. Not many people can master that. And I've actually played with one of these. Wasn't mine. Like I said, 98% of these toys I never had or owned or seen in real life, just on commercials. But I have played with this. Rainbow Bright. So now this little CNC farmers thing, I think they had one at my kindergarten, I believe. Or was that at the Catholic Church? But I did play with that. And it actually kept me company, you know. As stupid as this thing was, back then it was very, very entertaining to hear the sounds of these animals. But like I'm saying, all these toys are cool. I could, if I could own all these toys, I would have like a big old room with like all the walls covered in all these toys, you know, like a hoarder. Popples. I have played with the Popple, but I never owned one. These were the knockoff of the, I think, they're trying to compare, I guess, with the Care Bears and the Cabbage Patch and all that stuff. But they're pretty cool because, you know, they had their own little, I guess, Joey pouch they'd go in. Like they would cover themselves. Popples. I haven't seen one in many, many years. Now, the NES. The NES was the best thing to ever happen in the 80's. And that thing was so amazing. And whenever I played Zelda and beat Zelda, because you didn't have a save button, you literally had to leave your console on and pray that there was in a thunderstorm or your power got cut off, because then you would have to literally start all over, or it overheat or whatever. You had to fucking just hope for the best, leave it on for a couple days, and literally try to beat a game. Because, especially Zelda, that shit took fucking forever. And there was no YouTube to look up. There was no fucking shit to look up, like to find the hidden things, the rings and the swords. We literally had to push every single rock and bush. But the NES, I actually have one of the minis over here. The updated, newer version with like almost 800 games on it. But anyways, the NES is the reason I still play video games to this day. And this game, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which I do have. This thing was so fucking cool. Like, this was the coolest shit back in the days, man. Look at this. I still appreciate this game because it like paved the way for everything. And there's PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and blah blah blah. But let me tell you something, the pioneer. I know it started with Atari, but the graphics that the NES just showed, it was just like, I mean, it started everything. All the game systems out should pay homage to the NES because they were the pioneers, and they are the reason I'm a gamer many years later, and I will always be a gamer. I don't care if I'm 70 fucking years old, I'm still going to play video games because that's who I am. So, who remembers these? The Viewmaster. These are so cool, but so simple, but so cool because they put pictures in those little squares, and you would sit there in your room or outside just, and you could see the same one, the same reel over and over. But that's kids like us back then that grew up, that show appreciation for the simple things. You see, if something happened, us older generation can survive this earth. This new generation can't even survive without Wi-Fi, without losing their fucking mind. Like this generation is lost. There's no hope. There's the Atari. I remember playing these games. Simple as games. Now, I'm not trying to take away from the Atari because it did start everything, but I think the NES just made it that much better. Who remembers these little bad boys? I used to get pretty good on this damn thing, where you would go and then you would retrack on the line, to not go outside so it looked like perfect. You practice on this thing enough, you can paint the Mona Lisa. Seriously. But this thing was pretty fucking cool, man. I liked it. I never owned one, but my cousins and friends owned one, and I would play on that shit. I found it pretty interesting. It took a lot of brain. The glowworm. Oh my god, I wanted a glowworm so bad. I still want a glowworm. You're a kid, you're scared at night, you don't have a bright light. Like I said, I was fucking poor. I didn't get all these fucking things. You know, I would still buy a bright light. I mean, bright light. What the fuck am I talking about? Glowworm. I would still buy a glowworm.
Play our song, musical glowworm.
Commercials back then.
I help you sleep tight. We're all your good night friends. Well, Butterfly's here for the pajama party. She's so happy she's glowing.
I always wanted a glowworm.
Musical glowworm will play
Never
a tune
got
for
one.
us to go to sleep to. Night, 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 night.
I know some of you may make fun of me because I'm fully tattooed and stuff, but it's hard to, you know, I still feel the void. You know, I still want. I think if I got these toys, you know, like the Armstrong, the My Buddy, the Glowworm, the Power Glove, I'd be complete. You know, I still want these things. I'm 37. I still want these toys. And I think it's a void in my life that I need to fill. Because as a kid, and you're talking about years, I'm 37. For years and years, I've always wanted these toys. And I've never got them. And I really want them. Who remembers these little bad boys, huh? The Garbage Pail Kids. These were the coolest fucking cards ever. They were the memes of the 80s. These were the first memes that paved the way for memes today. The Garbage Pail Kids. And guess what I have? No, it's not from back then because it would be a VHS tape, but I have the Garbage Pail Kids movie. This thing is gold, man. Oh my god, this thing is fucking amazing. Look at that. If you have never seen this movie, you need to get it. I still haven't even fucking opened it. Look, the plastic. Because I know what it is. I've seen it. I used to watch it. I love it. Instead, if I open it, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to scratch it. I love it. Stuff like this is just precious to me. My precious. You know? It's just the little things in life, you know? A Care Bear. I always wanted a Care Bear, never got one. Never got one. I've seen them. I've held them, but never owned it. A BMX bike. Let me tell you something. I couldn't even get a Stretch Armstrong growing up, much less one of these bad boys. And I'm not gonna lie. I would go steal this shit from the rich side of town in Andrews, Texas. I would steal bikes. Me and my cousins, friends, we would steal them because we couldn't afford them. We're fucking poor. From the poor side of town. We would take them apart, paint them, change seats, change mags. We would change everything. We would just take them all apart, get the bigger sparks, sprockets and all, and we would just and make brand new bikes and paint them, and we'd be able to ride them around town. You know, we knew what was underneath. We knew what kind of bike it was. We knew. Nobody else knew. But let me tell you something. We knew we had a badass fucking bike to ride around in. And it wasn't right. I'm not proud of doing that because I knew the rich kid that got his bike stolen would get another one the next day. I would have never gotten a bike. But I got my own fucking bike. I'm not proud of it, but guess what? A poor kid's got to do what a poor kid's got to do sometimes. A big wheel. I've always wanted a fucking big wheel, man. Never got one. I actually, you see that little red tricycle? I think I was like 2 years old and stuff. Lived in Houston. I had one of those. But I never got a big wheel. Never got a fucking big wheel. Or a green machine. Uh, I, I always wanted one. Never got one. Ghostbusters. Man, there's some cool ass movies back then. Special effects were amazing. Ghostbusters. Pretty good shit, man. Pretty good stuff. I've always liked Slimer the best. I actually have a Slimer sweater to this day. But, you know, the Cabbage Patch Kids, I've actually seen, played, never owned. The Cabbage Patch Kids. Matchbox. Matchbox cars. I think I owned one of those damn things. I'm not gonna lie. If I did get shit like this, it's from a garage sale or the city dump. You know, because you could go out there and dump stuff, but then we would look through like the. I used to go dumpster diving. I'm not gonna lie. I would go digging through dumpsters looking for toys and shit. You know, on the rich side of town. Seriously, and you'd be amazed at what rich people throw away. Because one man's trash is another man's treasure. My fucking treasure. And I am not ashamed of dumpster diving when I was a kid because guess what? I would find gold. Gold meaning toys. Good shit. That was good, you know. It's like this day, you know, this day and age. A lot of people that are rich and stuff don't appreciate the little things. Like a He-Man doll. Oh, He-Man. Now let's look at this dumbass commercial. I always wanted that thing too. I thought that was so cool. Like what? 3 faces? Are you serious? Like that was mind blowing. Like what? But the commercials are shit. The commercials are no bueno. Oh my god. To this day I want these damn moon shoes. Fucking moon shoes, man. Look how cool they are. Like seriously. I've never seen one in real life. I've always wanted to try the moon shoe. So fucking cool, man. I've never seen one in real life. Now I played with these little bad boys because they were fucking cheap. Paratroopers. Man, I remember getting them and then just throwing them as high as I can on a windy day. And you would just see them and have to chase them and then do it again and over and over and over and over 100 fucking times. But guess what? It made me happy. It was pretty cool. Paratroopers. I remember I used to get up. We had a 2-story house because my dad was a carpenter and he built, you know, the second level. And I would throw it out the window sometimes and see it go, and then I'd run outside and try to find it, or you know, just paratroopers, man. I need a paratrooper. I need to get me one. I need to find me one. Probably fucking $10 now on eBay or Amazon. And who didn't own a raisin? The California fucking raisins. I'm not gonna lie. I had 1 or 2 of them. I thought they were cool. I remember watching the commercials and stuff, the California raisins. It's pretty cool, man. I wouldn't mind having one of those. California raisins. Now this is another toy I want. Never owned. I always had to play with it at my cousin's house because they got it fucking everything. The Light Bright. I love this fucking toy, man. I thought it was so cool that you'd put those little, to me it was like little crystals, you know, you put it in there. So cool, man. Never owned one. I mean, these were cool toys back then. The Light Bright. I'm gonna look one up. I'm gonna see how much those damn things are. I really want one of those. They're so cool. I'm just like overdosed with nostalgia. You know, just bring back so many memories. You know, you see these things, it can warp you back in time to a specific place or a specific, event or something. You know, it's just pretty crazy. I was the master of jacks. Who didn't have jacks? You know, this was a cool game. The jacks. The jacks ball. I actually had one of those little containers. I'm sure it's lost somewhere. But anyways, Operations. I love this game. It was so cool. So simple, so cool, but yet because of the way they made it, you know, it was like you're getting shocked, but you weren't getting shocked. But you know, it was really cool. I like this game. Do they even still sell it right now? I don't even know. I don't know. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do sell it. But this game was pretty cool. Just for the fact that they put in the whole metal to metal, and it's like it's actually electrocuting you and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Okay, let's operate.
Operate. Where's the dog?
It's Operation the Wacky Doctor's game.
Worried
where
about the
you're
damn
wacky
dog.
Doctor. Batteries not included.
Oh, you're fluid. My turn. Take out asparagus for $100.
Look at that hair.
Because if you
So
touch
wor-
the sides,
Kids back then had the worst fucking hair, man.
I did it. That's $200.
That's a
Operation.
fucking mullet
A
from
game
hell.
from Milton Bradley.
It's crazy. Well, that is some toys from the 80's. There are hundreds more that I didn't get to talk about. I just wanted to talk about some that were, you know, near and dear to me, and some that I wish I had, never got. But anyways, if you have any suggestions on a topic that you want me to cover, talk about, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification button. And my name is Tattoo, and this is my podcast. And thank you for watching, and I will be back.